Bielik with Phoenix Rising Karate in Indianapolis, and today we're going to show you how to hand sew a patch onto your uniform. The first thing we're going to do is we need to get a sewing kit, right? These are pretty inexpensive. You can get them in multiple sizes. This is a slightly larger option, some that only have one color, but you want to try and hopefully find a color or a patch that's going to have, or a kit that's going to have a color similar to what you're going to be sewing. That way you don't have it standing out. So you don't want to have white on a black patch. You don't want to have black on a white patch. Those types of things. We're gonna have something that matches. Obviously, we don't have green. Once you have that, we're gonna go ahead and start placement of the patch. Now, especially on uniforms, this is kind of tricky sometimes because of the diagonal shape of the collar or the lapel. Sometimes I've seen students or parents who will sew the patch on in alignment with that. But then when you put it on, your patch is going to be crooked when you wear it. So you want to go ahead and have the person who's going to be wearing this patch put their uniform on first, and then go ahead and place where it's going to be. Sometimes if you do this without with the person, I've seen patches that end up all the way over the shoulder, or sometimes down too low by their belly by mistake. So go ahead and have the person wear the gi. You can see Bob over here wearing our gi, and then I can see exactly where I want the patch to go, that type of a thing. Once you know where the patch is going to go, you can use safety pins, or you can use needles. I don't have a safety pin right now. So right there, you can see the lapel goes diagonal, but we want the patch, depending on what type of patch it is, where it's going to go, what the shape of it is. We want this one going up and down. If you're doing the number one patch, you want it going straight up and down, not up here on the collar, not too low by your belly. So we're gonna go right there, use a needle, and don't stab yourself. Just obviously you would try and take this off of the person that's doing this. There's that. Doesn't have to be perfect. And now make a second adjustment. Sometimes these things, as you hold it and pin, will start to drift. So go ahead and find your second adjustment again. Get another needle. Again, I would prefer safety pins. This is what I have on hand at the dojo right now. Coming through there. So now, and then double check it. If you took it off of the person, you can pin it and then put it back on the person to make sure that is where you want that patch to go. I think that looks good. So we're gonna go from there. All right, a lot of times these will come with multiple types of needles. You saw that some of these needles are bigger than others. Find something that feels like it's gonna be appropriate. You don't want too thin of a needle, especially on a patch, because they are thicker, plus you may be going through a heavier weight uniform. So try and find a needle that's gonna be appropriate for what you're doing. We're gonna find the eye of the needle, right? And we're gonna go thread this through the needle. There we go, so you see that's on the needle now. Now we take our thread. Our thread is going to go through here, through, there we go, and this will pull through, and now we have threaded the needle. Be careful not to pull that out right away. You're going to want a whole bunch of thread, right? You may have to start another patch. You can always cut off the end. Thread is not expensive, right? So we want to have about a double layering of this, and then we're going to cut that thread. All right, now we're just about ready to start. Just to let you know, there is things called thimbles. These would go on a finger, a lot of times on your thumb. I do not know how to use these very well, so I am not going to use one personally today, but you can use these. You can learn. You might be better at it than I am. Now that we have our thread, we want to tie a knot at the end of our thread so it doesn't come undone and it doesn't come out of here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and tie a knot just like you would. There's a couple different ways to do this. This is the simplest way that I know how. We've got one. I try and do about 3 or 4 knots to make sure the knot is big enough that this string won't pull through once you start sewing. And we just try. Hardest part is to get those knots to come together at the same spot. We'll go for one more. One thing you can do if you want is you can also use your needle where you want the knot to go. So that's something, I don't know if you can see this very well. I'm going to place this here. So sometimes these knots try and go side by side each other, not where you want them. You can use the needle to kind of hold the loop in place where you want to go and help guide that loop to the other knots. I think it's going to be good enough for us. That shouldn't pull through the material. Now, from here, we're going to start stitching. We're going to come in. We have this knot here. We don't want that to show, so we're going to start in from the back side. And it doesn't really matter where you start. It's good to probably start someplace at a corner, not in the middle of something, just kind of gives you a place to start. So we're going to come in from the back side. The hard part is seeing where you're at, so you're going to have to use kind of your feel. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to come in through the border of the patch. So we're coming in, find that border right there. Again, pop through just like that. I'm going to pull that all the way up. There we go. And then we're going to go, this is called a running stitch. We're just going to go straight back down again into the patch. I'm making these stitches about a centimeter from each other. Just be careful you don't stab your finger. Coming through. When you first start, you want to be in a hurry, you want to get done, you're not sure what you're doing, so many people make really big stitches. That's more obvious. You can see as we're starting here, we're starting to get, get out of the way. There, we're starting to get our stitch going. You want those to be kind of close together so they're going to hold the patch on more securely and evenly. If you make them too big, they're going to be easier to come undone, and they're easier to see the thread on the patch. The nice thing about sewing is if you get in the wrong spots, you can just retract it and then go again. And now from here, we're just going to go down the edge, taking the corner, and this is basically what you're going to do all the way around the entire patch. Okay, so you can see the pattern of the running stitch. You know, I'm not a professional, but this is something easy that you can do for yourself. I'm running out of thread. I'm gonna need to get more thread, and I'm gonna repeat the process once I tie this off. So once you get to the end, we can come back through one of the previous ones, right? And come through, and we're gonna loop around through the material and kind of making a knot here. If you want to, you can even go through the material one more time, stabbing through, and then back again. And again, just going through that already knot. And again, through that knot there to tie it off. Nice and strong. All right, so we're gonna cut that, and I'm gonna re-thread the needle, and we'll finish up. We are halfway done with this particular patch. And then we'll keep sewing and then show you the finished product. Now we're going to tie this end off. Now that we've gotten the end, again, find a stitch, come under that stitch, and then through your thread. If you want, you can go through that one as well. And maybe one more. Just to be sure. Then we're going to cut that off as well. So this is what it looks like on the other end. This is where we tied off the other one. We can trim that a little bit. That's the back. And there's the front there. And then we put it on. Now we have a new patch on our uniform. Again, you can do that. We have multiple patches. Some are going to be more complicated for sewing. Some are going to be easier. Checking for your school to make sure you know exactly where your patches go, where they belong, where they should be positioned on the uniform. But this is a simple, easy way that you don't have to take your uniform to a seamstress or a tailor and sometimes even wait a couple days before you get those back. So this has been Robert Bielik with Phoenix Rising Karate in Indianapolis. Tell me what you think about this video. Did this help you out? Do you have a better way? Like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below.